Hi, and welcome back to Factory Reset. Today we're going to be discussing why diet fads are failing you.
Yeah, so it's something that's actually interesting and something I didn't really consider when going through this kind of topic. I had to ask Cassie a little bit, like, what is a diet fad?
So, diet fads are the new trending, what's good for you. So, a lot of them that have come in through recently was the carnivore diet. That was a big one. I think he released that in like 2019 or 2020.
Okay.
Which is all animal everything.
So they're influencer-based diets.
Basically.
In a way, or some kind of marketing behind the diet. It's not necessarily, I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of science behind it, but sometimes. I mean...
All right, so you want to know what his science was?
What?
Animals are better than plants, and plants are toxic. And he came out...
He really said that?
Yeah, in his book, he says plants are toxic. Which plants do have some toxicity.
Well, there's toxic plants. I mean, there's poisonous plants out there.
But we're not eating those.
I find personally cooked spinach poisonous. Mushrooms are poisonous. Mushrooms are poisonous. Not like the good kind of mushrooms, but like the ones that you put on like pizza. The ones that are just like...
Stop it.
Taste weird.
Fungus.
Anywho,
fungus. I can't remember, but he came out, I can't remember if it was a year or 2 years later, and he does not follow his carnivore diet. He came out in an interview and said that he is probably 80% animal based, and the rest is plant.
Doritos.
So he doesn't even follow his own fad anymore. Like,
well, you have the Liver King guy. That guy just in the news today. I just saw that he got arrested for like sending threats to Joe Rogan or something like that. But yeah, that guy was like, I get all jacked from just eating liver or something like that. And he's like, obviously on all the juice.
All right.
And yeah, he's coming out. I remember Joe Rogan was on the carnivore diet for a while. And I've actually known people who have done the carnivore diet.
I'm not saying that there are pieces of the fads that come out that are very beneficial, especially to specific individuals. Like something like carnivore diet or a heavily animal-based diet may work for you, but for me, it may mess me up, right? Like people are just so genetically different that it just bothers me. It's the same with like paleo. When that came out, that was a huge fad. I hopped on that bandwagon. Do you remember?
I do remember you hopping on back because I would make fun of it all the time.
Because
I was
you
just
wouldn't eat it.
Because you were like, the food has to be something that you could find in nature.
No,
was the definition.
That was the definition. And
I'm like, so if I put a pizza under a tree and then I'm foraging and I find a pizza, is that paleo?
See, people went extreme one way or the other on that one. But I mean, when the paleo diet came out, there was so much hate on white potatoes that I was making mashed cauliflower and tricking you into thinking it was potatoes. I know, he's still real mad about that. Real mad.
We talked about mental health recently. That was a contributor to my mental health.
To your mental health.
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking of like, oh, mashed potatoes and some good gravy. What is this? It's like, oh yeah, I just ground up a bunch of cauliflower and I made it mashed.
I know, mad, real mad.
Flip the table. What?
But like the paleo diet had some really good points, right? Like it brought us back into eating more whole-based foods, right? So you lean meats and a lot of veggies and some fruits because the paleo diet was anti-fruit as well.
Because of the sugar?
Because of the sugar. It's going to make you fat. Oh my God. Like, it's just insane. And then all of us hopped onto that paleo. Well, not all of us, but there was a very large majority of us that hopped on that paleo.
A lot of Cassies out there.
Yeah. They were like, well, how can I make a dessert that's like paleo?
Oh, I remember that.
So I'm going to just sub out...
I remember you did that.
...flour with some oat flour or almond flour. It didn't make it any better.
Babe, try this. Tell me if it's good. I've learned my lesson multiple times. There was one time that you were like, hey, I can't remember what it was. It was like, it wasn't cauliflower. It might have been cauliflower.
No, I only tricked you with cauliflower.
No, but,
I never did it again.
there was another one that was just like, hey, babe, I know you don't like this food, but taste it and tell me if it's good. And I was like...
Tell me what you think.
Like, the logic in this. It's like, I know you don't like this, but taste this and tell me if this is good.
But yeah, here we are trying to figure out how to make freaking paleo cupcakes and paleo cakes.
I remember those.
And, like, instead of just eating the damn cake, like, in moderation.
I just felt like I preferred eating like just the cardboard boxes that they taste like.
Like, it was just silly. And it's the same, like, it's the same now, right? Like, 75 Hard's out, which I just...
That's been going on for a couple of years too.
I know. And I have things that I very dislike about the 75 Hard, but I have things that I also really like about 75 Hard.
Okay.
I don't like the fact that it requires you to work out twice a day for 45 minutes each session.
Why don't you like that?
Because honestly,
I think some people could use that.
well,
Some people that's too much for it. Some people don't have enough time for it. Like,
I don't have time for that. Like, and if that's like a legit make or break, whether or not you can like officially claim that you did it, like that's silly. Right?
well, but it is supposed to be really hard. Like, that's why they call it hard, right? So it's supposed to be something that's very
No,
challenging.
I understand that. That's fine. But for most of us, we're not even working out 45 minutes a day every day, period. Like, let's just start, like,
So you're saying that it's unsustainable.
it's unsustainable.
Okay,
Like,
for the average individual, it's something that would probably be unsustainable, which would likely cause you to quit.
and on top of it, like, think about 90 minutes every single day.
Okay.
And one has to be outside.
Okay.
So
I thought they both had to be outside.
no, just one.
Okay.
But like, if you're somebody who right now maybe works out either never or 3 to 4 times a week, and now you're working out 7 days a week for 90 minutes, like that's a lot on your body.
Yeah.
Then he cuts out all sugar. Then he cuts out all alcohol. He adds water, which I love. He adds reading, which I also like. I think reading's important, but I mean, what if you're somebody who, like in my case right now, like we've got little kids. Stop it, I'm not illiterate. I don't have time to sit down. I mean, I guess I do. I could do it right before bed, but I have very little time to sit down and physically hold a book and read.
Yeah.
Like, but if you could have different things in there, like meditation or write in a journal or like, right? Like it doesn't, but he has like, it has to be, and you have to check off all these things in order to like consider completing it. And a lot of people
They don't have levels to it, like...
No. Well, there's apparently a soft 75 out there.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true to his...
Sounds kind of dirty.
I don't know.
Soft 75.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true to his brand or if that's just people like taking his like method and minimalizing
Reducing it. Yeah, reducing it so it's not quite as hard.
Saying like you only have to work out for 45 minutes a day instead of the 2, right? Like, and I know a lot of people, I know why fads exist because it's the new hack. It's the new, you're going to lose weight right now and you're going to feel great.
Well, it's the motivation, right? They're trying to inspire, but it's also money.
It is money. But the main, like, but you will, if you do 75 hard, or if you went all in on paleo, or you go in all in on carnivore or whatever, you will lose weight. And quickly, probably within the first 30 days of being on it. And it's not because their fad is working. It's because you unknowingly have lowered your calorie intake.
And you've increased, in some cases, your exercise.
Correct.
And your output.
Which means
And your literacy.
Which means now that you're not in excess, right? So we're no longer maintaining or gaining weight, we're losing weight. But as soon as we're done, or we tap out, or it's unsustainable and we get bored or we get fed up, we go back to eating the way we were and we either gain all that weight back, we gain some of it back, or some of us find a way to keep it off, but in a more sustainable way, in the sense of like taking the pieces that we liked from that fad and making it
kind of like you did with paleo, where you started branching out and eating more whole foods as just a general lifestyle change.
Yeah.
But what you're saying essentially with a lot of these fads is that the way that they're immediately put forth will make somebody successful, but it needs to be something that you can sustain as a lifestyle. Otherwise, you're just yo-yoing yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I yo-yoed. When I did paleo, I lost some weight. And then I hopped off that bandwagon because I was like, this is stupid. I'm done with trying to make paleo brownies.
Yeah, right. I was done with that too.
And he was done with the mashed cauliflower.
Oh my God.
But-
I still.
I haven't had cauliflower in the house since, I don't think.
I always, and I grew up hating cauliflower, and then to be betrayed like that, to be fully, horribly betrayed. Like, I hate cauliflower. I just hate cauliflower in general. It's just, it's like, I don't know. Anyway, and to think that I was eating, it was like chicken and mashed potatoes is what I thought you were like. I was like, I was like, I got done with a workout or something like that. I got home from training. It's like, oh, like chicken, mashed potatoes, some gravy. It's like, this is bomb. And then
And then it wasn't
I was betrayed. It's like, what, the Halo when you shoot your teammate? Betrayal. It's like, that was me.
But I gained weight back when I fell off of that. Mm-hmm. And then I went all in on the Whole30. Which
What was the Whole30?
it's very similar to paleo.
Was that when you turned 30?
But they allow more fruits than paleo did because they didn't fearmonger you into thinking fruits were terrible for you.
Okay.
But it was all whole foods. And you did it for 30 days.
Oh, okay. So 30 was
Yeah.
the time limit.
Yeah.
30 was your...
And then I hopped off that, and I probably maintained...
We went straight back to the brewery?
I know. Yeah, pretty much. Like, literally everything I've done, as soon as I've, completed the, time frame of what I committed to, personally, whatever it was, brewery was, the first stop, and pizza. And it was just because those were the things that, they told you couldn't, right? It's like, don't push that red button. You're like, I will push that red button. Can't have pizza. And everybody's like, I can't have pizza? What? That's all I want now, pizza and beer. Mm-hmm. So it just, oh God. It's just so terrible. So yeah, hopping on the fat is, you're just yo-yo dieting. And all you're doing is making things so much harder on you and your body, because now your body's like, oh, I really like being at that weight. Oh no, okay, we're gonna go back up. Cool. Oh, now I gotta work really hard to get back down because we couldn't just eat our fruits and veggies. We had to.
Yeah, it becomes unsustainable.
Insane. So the more that I went through all of my phases, the more I learned, one, that there's so much information out there that has been misconstrued to serve its purpose at the time, right?
Like, you can't eat eggs or you're going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, it's not a thing. That's the cholesterol from eggs. If that makes your personal cholesterol high, it's because you have a genetic fault in your DNA that is causing your body to not process it or hold on to it.
That doesn't make me feel very good about myself.
You're welcome. But same with white potatoes, right? White potatoes are terrible for you. They're going to make you fat. They're actually so good.
They are.
And they have
They're very
so
good.
many good nutrients in them for you.
Except for the fact that every single time I try to consider French fries a vegetable, you tell me no.
Ugh, it's because they're fried in oil. Not vegetables.
Okay. If I bake a French fry...
Yes. It's a veggie.
And that's all I need.
Yeah, it's a veggie.
That's
if you
all I
bake
need.
it, you're
No,
good.
because you told me that. I was like, no, you need green veggies. You need veggies with color. It's like, so
that's
why?
because-
That's racism is what that is. That's racism. What is it? So...
I eat my white potatoes and corn, and that's it.
I eat
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah.
I was tricked with cauliflower once. And it has ruined me for many veggies. Now I don't trust. To this day, sometimes if I don't see her make the mashed potatoes, I still side eye it a little bit. But yeah, so
it just comes back down to just moderation, really. And I know moderation isn't fancy and it's not fun and it's not going to make me $1 million. I wish it would, but I mean, going out and having cake in moderation, fine. Going out and having a beer in moderation, fine.
What is the definition of moderation, though? Because no. Then this is a serious question. I'm not making fun of I kind of am a little bit in some regards, but individuals think that moderation means if I eat really good on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that I can eat whatever the hell I want on Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday.
Which I also feel like should fit into a fad category.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
I mean, it's technically
So-
moderation by the
well,
definition, but it's
is
not.
it? So
Sure.
if you so you eat.
It's moderation if your metric is days, not if your metric is weekly calories.
Okay. So, moderation, for the most part, when everybody like first introduced it, that's what we thought on it of was days, right? Or meals.
It's like every
If
single
I
day you
ate-
wake up, you start at 0.
Yeah. If
You know, and
I
it's just like,
ate
it's just your day
really
resets.
good meals Monday through Thursday, right? So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 times 3, 12 meals. And then Friday, Saturday,
I thought
Sunday.
you were counting the days for a second there. I'm like, four. That's 4 days.
Stop it. But so then if you count Thursday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? That's 9 meals. So everybody's like, oh well, I did better. I did 9 meals bad and 12 meals good. But in reality, that's not what moderation means, because your calorie intake and how you fuel, right, and is what you use to maintain your body weight.
Mm-hmm.
So if your weekly, we're just going to use simple numbers.
It's like a
because I don't
2,000
wanna-
calorie diet, so 14,000 calories a week in 7 days.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you consume more than 14,000 in that week, then you're not in moderation and you're just going to gain weight.
Okay.
So moderation is definitely individual specific, and it's definitely individual specific to
So your
how
body-
many your calories your body needs.
Your body doesn't reset every day. It's not like
We wish it did, but no, it doesn't. No.
So if you have 2,000 calories in one day, and I do, we'll say 1,500 the next day, and then I do 3,000 the next day, it's not that I had one bad day. It's that I have to take 2,000 plus 1,500 plus 3,000 because your metabolism doesn't stop. Your metabolism is going when you're sleeping. It is going during the day. So you may have leftover calories from yesterday that are still digesting in your body that are required, like that are still there, that are counting towards today's calories.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like, am I understanding that right? It was like, why do we have a weekly versus a daily?
So the reason that I break it down daily for my clients, some people do like to do it weekly, but think about it. I'm going to make everybody feel a little bit silly, but think about it like a child.
You felt silly with the cauliflower.
If you give a child $20 and say, here, this $20 is for lunch for you all week. Buy whatever you want.
$20 lasting till Tuesday.
Correct. How much money does that kid have on Friday to go buy
Pizza's
lunch?
on me.
They don't. So it's the same, because we as adults can't.
It's the same with budgets. So you look at people with the finance in their budgets.
We just don't.
and
We don't manage well.
Its intake is like what your expenditure. Like
Yeah.
how much you get in is usually how much you pay out. With most people, it's paycheck to paycheck. It's people don't think about moderation. They don't think about savings. They think about, and this isn't with everybody, and this was with me for a long time. I was like this in my early 20s. I was just like, oh, I made $500 this week.
Let's
what
go
can
spend $500.
Yeah, to the bar, to the bar. And then rent would come around and I'd be like, I might sell my body.
Oh, don't have $500.
So,
But yes, it's the exact same. So we know that as a coach, we know that your body needs this per week because we've broken it down daily. And that's why we say you have 2,000 calories to eat today, however you want.
but is the week the reset then? Like, why isn't it 2 weeks or 1 week? You know, it's like,
So we break it down weekly because it's simpler to track.
Okay.
Right? Like, so if we're setting up for weight loss, like typically we'll set up for anywhere between a half a pound all the way up to maybe 2 pounds a week.
okay, because it's the metric is the weight loss per week.
Yeah.
So the metric of measurement is bi-weekly, but then since none of us can manage 14,000 calories in a week, it's easier to divide those by 7 and do 2,000 a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when we talk about it, it's literally eat whatever you want to reach 2,000 calories. But once you hit 2,000 calories, like, you're tapped out. So if you eat all 2,000 calories before dinner comes around, like, technically you don't have anything left to eat, right? Which is not what we do. We will tell you to eat anyway and try to make up for it tomorrow. So, and that's why we talk about, like, it's okay if maybe you have a 2,000 calorie day today and a 1,500 calorie day tomorrow, and then a 3,000 calorie day the next day, as long as you can subtract and get back on track to reach your end of the week calories.
So when you're saying in moderation, and I know you made another video on this on your own personal channel on Instagram, I believe, but if you know, like, this Saturday is Super Bowl, or I'm sorry, this Sunday is Super Bowl. I don't know how the Saturday.
Come on.
Hey, come on, guy.
Yay, sports, go team.
Right? It's the cauliflower all over. If you know that, like, you have Super Bowl coming up this weekend, or you're going to a UFC fight, or something like that, something that you know that you're going to splurge on, you kind of, for moderation's sake, you plan ahead. You give yourself a few days of lower throughout the week to where that you can I guess, I know you don't like the word justify, but
It's just balance.
yeah, you can balance it out, because I know some people, like, and I know you have a very hard time with this, but there's people that you used to work out with that would specifically work out hard so they could eat cake. And you were like,
Drives me insane.
Drives you insane. Yeah. And I remember that. So, like, I don't want to say, like, well, I want to justify being able to do whatever I want on Saturday, so I'm going to starve myself Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, because that's also unsustainable.
Correct. For me personally, when I know that I have a big event coming up, whether it's a birthday or a celebration because a friend just got promoted or hit a goal, or Super Bowl, UFC fights, any of those things, I know that on those days that I'm going to go out and have drinks. Like, that's what I know. But I also know that when I go out, and this is new me, the old me didn't think this way, but the new me is like, okay, you know what? I am going to have drinks, but instead of ordering a hamburger and french fries, I'm going to order a hamburger and a side salad. Or I'm going to order a hamburger and french fries, but I'm going to ask for a box right away, and I'm going to literally cut my hamburger in half, put it inside the box, and then, like, divvy up my fries and take half of those and put them in the box, and I will only eat the half of hamburger and the half of french fries so that I can enjoy my drinks, because I know I'm going to be in a calorie surplus. Or the other thing that I do, like when we go out on date night and I know I'm going to have drinks, is I will order either a salad, and don't get it twisted, some salads have a lot of calories in them, but I will order a salad that I know will be on the low end of the calorie side of things to enjoy with my drinks. Or I will order a lean meat with a veggie and a potato. So, like, right, like I've done salmon in the past with some green beans over.
Was it a white potato?
I think quinoa. Yes, I love white potatoes. Or I'll order a steak with potatoes and green beans, or like those kinds of things. And so that I can find balance. And even though I know they're high calorie, I reset the next day and I go back into eating how I normally would.
One thing that, again, you made another video on this topic, and if you don't follow Cassie's Instagram, social media, where she posts these tips and she creates little analogies for them and stuff like that. She just started it not very long ago. But one thing that you also mentioned is, because I know when you say that to people, the first thing that my brain goes to is like, I can't have my French fries.
No, you can.
It's like, but
just don't eat them all.
But hold on. So like, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the thing is that there's a lot of times, and I just found that you just educated me on this recently as well. And it was something that I did naturally, but I didn't know that I did. When I grew up, I was so interested in doing other things and being like, you know, having progress and everything, or just like, or playing, or video games, or, you know, whatever. I don't know, whatever it is. That I always thought food was a waste of time.
I know.
And I know you've thought I was weird forever, but I was like, if I could just make like one of those future movies where like you eat a pill,
like who doesn't like to sit down and eat food?
it's like, it was, to me, it was just such a waste of time.
I know, it's fine.
And it's just like, I did not like sitting there. I did not like the process of cooking. I did not like the process of cleaning up. Like, the whole thing was just like, man, if I could just eliminate this into a pill, I could have an extra hour and a half a day to do something different, you know? And but I also hate sleep for that reason.
I know.
Same reason too. It's like, if I could take a pill and not have to sleep, you know how much more, like,
Stop it.
like, anyway, I could be
Stop it.
so much more effective with everything. Anyway, so I've kind of changed a little bit on the sleep part, but so the pills for me. But the thing is that, so I would always eat just until I wasn't hungry, and then I was done. And then there were times where, like, if we went out to eat as a family or whatever like that when we were kids, and I would eat too much, and then I would feel like crap. And I'm like, oh, I hate that. Like, I really hate that, because then I've wasted more time, because now I have to wait till I feel better.
Now I can't do anything.
Well, but for me also, I always had stomach issues.
Yeah.
Later on, I found out that it was my gallbladder was failing. I had to have a gallbladder removal because my body always had a hard time digesting heavy fats and things like that. You were there for that. And so it was always something that I just naturally did. But the thing is that I always felt better. And then it's something that you made in that video recently, where it takes you, I think you said 20 minutes for your brain to recognize whether or not your stomach is full, for the signals to be sent.
Yep.
So if you cut the burger in half, or you have just a little bit of the French fries, sometimes you'll eat that and you'll realize, oh yeah, that was enough.
Yeah.
That was
good.
perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually didn't need to finish all of this. I actually feel way better. And then you have energy after that. Like, there's times where I'm working here in the office or in the the gym or whatever, and I'll eat like a pretty big meal, and then I'm like, crashed, and I'm like, shit, like, I am tired. It's like, you just want caffeine, you want to do something, whatever. But then when you have the more moderate sized meals, smaller, you don't hit that same crash.
Yeah. It also kind of stems back into, at least our generation growing up, was you finish what's on your plate. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter how much was on your plate and how full you were. It was, you're not leaving the table until you eat all that.
Yep.
And I've had to grow out of that mindset so many times as I've gone through my career.
Well, for yourself and for kids and for everything.
There were times where I was still well into my 20s where I was like, I'm not hungry. And I would sit there and I would finish everything that was on my plate instead of just either getting a to-go box or throwing it away. And I know it's because we live in times where we're like, oh, we're so privileged. Like, I can't believe you're throwing food away. But
starving children in India. No. That was always the one in my house. There are kids starving in India, and you're throwing that away?
Even now, like, I went out with...
well, send it to India.
Right? Mail it to them. I went out with a girlfriend. We had some beers and pizza, and there was one slice left. And she was like, are you going to eat that? And I was like, no, I'm good. Are you going to eat it? And she's like, no, but I feel bad leaving it. And I'm like, this is how we know we've grown. We're going to leave it anyway.
Yeah.
Because we're not hungry. We don't need it. And...
funny enough, that a lot of people ignore. Same thing happens with beers.
Chugging it?
Because it's like, and beers have a lot of calories, especially microbrew beers. And there'll be times where it's like, everybody's ready to go, but you have 3/4 of a beer left.
Right.
It's like, well, I just paid like $6 for that pint.
Chug it anyway.
It's like, I need to slam that beer.
Yeah.
You just slam so much calories because it feels so wrong to leave the beer.
Yeah.
Right? It feels so wrong just to walk out with it. And it's like, so everybody slams it. And it's just like, well, if you were in a calorie deficit before,
you sure aren't now.
You sure aren't now. And also that beer, all that alcohol is going to hit your system all at once, right? Which is a different topic, but yeah. So going back to the fads, you feel like more fads, and not more fads, more diets should be. You should find a diet that you can sustain, is essentially what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So a lot of the fads that are out there, honestly, are feeding our all or nothing mindset, which I absolutely just dislike. And I used to be an all or nothing. It was always, I'm all in on this diet, or I'm all in on this exercise, or I'm all in on this whatever I was doing at the time. And then once that season was over, it was like, all right, cool. Now I'm out. I'm going to go be all in on something new. And I've read so many different books that have helped grow my mindset, but I've also just immersed myself with people who have helped grow my mindset of that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can have ice cream literally every single night and still lose weight. You just have to know how much you can eat to continue to lose weight. So maybe it's literally reading the serving size on the package and having the serving size.
So
instead of taking a giant cereal bowl out of your pantry and filling that thing with ice cream, right?
Or just eating out of the bucket, right? and being sad and watching the movies and crying like the chick flicks.
And all the chick flicks all sad because they broke up with
the whole bucket of ice cream.
The whole bucket with wine.
So
nobody does that.
So a lot of that, it just really has to do with and I'm going to say a word that's going to trigger a lot of people. It's the negative M word. It's called math. A lot of people hate the word math.
It's hard.
Math is hard. Math can be hard. Math. There's sometimes I've had very negative feelings towards math, especially coming from an aerospace industry where math is everywhere. But no, it's really understanding the metrics, your math, your calories. Like, well, how many calories? And you have to track everything, and which sucks, and it's hard to get into the habit. We just had a fighter I was talking to yesterday who was just like, yeah, I really need to get in the habit for my weight cut. He has an MMA fight in about a month and a half, and he's just like, I really just have to get into the habit of tracking my calories on my food diary so you could watch it, because you're helping him with his weight cut, and he's pretty much there, and he's been doing a great job, but with his weight cut. But he sends you his food diary so you could tell him whether or not like he needs to up his calories, he needs to lower, if he needs more protein based on his recovery, all of that stuff. You specialize in all that stuff, but the building the consistency in actually tracking it is a problem. So how would you tell people if you were trying to avoid the 75 hard style fad, which, like you said, will cause you to lose weight and has very good habits in there, but sometimes it's unsustainable. Yeah. How would you help people to make a sustainable change where they can create a lifestyle where they can actually start seeing the pounds coming off the scale, and they can start feeling better, and they can start, having to take in their pants and stuff, So
there's two ways. Tracking, even if it's loosely tracking, is the first way that I would suggest to everybody.
But how do you, build that habit? Because I just told him set alarms on your phone.
So there's everybody kind of has their own way to do it. I enter in after I've made each meal, like before I even sit down to eat it. And that's because it's fresh in my brain. I know exactly what I had, how much of everything, depending on at what stage of life I'm in. Sometimes it's just, I guessed, I put 2 spoonfuls of yogurt, but I knew that was pretty much a serving size. And other times I'm I get out my scale and I'm legit measuring everything.
But I guess, how do you do that on the fly? How do you build that habit to start doing that? Especially if you're going out to restaurants or if you're eating out at lunch or whatever.
So you can set alarms in your phone to remind yourself. Or the biggest one that you can do is set an alarm at the end of the day, right before you go to bed, and just mass enter everything in. But
is there any problem with that one, with not being able to remember? Is that...
Some people have a tendency to not remember exactly what they ate, and other people, it may not be accurate, 100% accurate in the sense, but it's at least enough of an estimate to know, if it's off by 100 calories or whatnot, 100 calories is not breaking your 5 pound gain or 5 pound loss, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing that I really suggest to people that tracking just is absolutely out of the picture, can't do it, won't do it for whatever reason, is creating a balanced plate at every single meal. And what that means is, does your plate have a protein on it? Does your plate have a vegetable on it? Does your plate have a carb on it? And does your plate have a fat on it?
Okay.
If you can have all 4 of those things on your plate or in your bowl when you sit down to eat, you're probably already doing better than when you were before. Because
and then I know that you did this. I don't mean to interrupt you, but even if you're not doing it like tracking by the numbers, you have a system that you use with clients where you do like body parts, like thumb of fat, fist of veggies, right? Or something like that.
So it's your thumb is typically your fat measurement. It's not always super accurate, and it can be a little bit hard depending on what your fat is, right? If it's an avocado, pretty easy, right? But if you're using peanut butter or
I've seen an avocado that big.
oil, well, no, you slice it up.
Okay, I was like,
But anyway,
avocado.
But right, like you can slice that. But if you're using like oil or something else, like there's, I don't know, there's no way to measure that. Like good luck, right? So we'll say like a tablespoon. But if you're not, the palm, like just the palm of your hand, is a good measurement for protein and the thickness of your palm.
That's my steak size.
Well, that would be considered one serving, and for somebody like you, I think it's like 9 protein servings a day.
I have to eat 9 of these?
Well, in a day.
Okay.
So break that in between your.
And if I eat them all, I get it for free, right? I get the steak for free.
Yeah. Fist is your veggies, and I honestly recommend having 2 fist size of veggies at every meal.
2 fist size.
Or fruit, but yes, and then a cup. So
our photo bomber is back.
Of your carbs. But honestly, like that's where I started. I started with a balanced plate, which was really hard for me at the beginning because it was like, well, how do I incorporate a veggie into my breakfast? And then it was like, well, okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be a veggie. It can also be a fruit. And it was like, okay, so that made it a little bit easier. And then after that, it became, okay, well, like I still really want to be able to have my chips and salsa or my whatever. Like, how do I measure that? And so then
you look on the bag in a lot of cases. Right, the bags will have the calorie counts in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
It's like what, like 5 chips are like, or have some measurement like that, right? Like 5 chips or 16 chips is like
150 calories.
150 calories. Okay.
Yeah, so like
something like that.
So then you can start to be a little bit more meticulous, right? You can pick out 16 chips and lay them on your plate and eat them with whatever. But you have to start somewhere, and then you just have to build. And that's why I really like habit stacking. And that's why the 75 hard is good, right? Is it stacks a whole bunch of habits. Unfortunately, it's all at once instead of letting you build into it. But if you don't want to track, and tracking is just like literally zero out the window, not going to do it, balancing your plate is the best way that you can honestly help yourself lose weight, because you're going to cut calories not knowing it. Because you're going to quit eating the chips, the pretzels, the taquitos, the pizza every night, all the things
that aren't balanced.
Yeah, that are heavy. They're all very heavy carb, heavy fat, with very little anything else in it.
Yeah, so you just want to plan that all the time, and then the last question that I had, or maybe the last thing you want to talk about, is a lot of people do this for a couple of reasons. They either do like the 75 hard, they do the carnivore diet, they do paleo, they do, I remember Atkins was a thing back in the day. Atkins diet.
And they came out with their own bars.
Or remember
that?
What was the beach?
Beachbody.
Beachbody one.
There's been a lot.
There's been a lot of fad diets. A lot of them.
They've all come and gone.
And yeah, right. It's like the newest fad. And man, you are a pest today. So like having all of those, but when you're doing it, most people's goals are, to feel better and stuff. But I would say the vast majority of people are vanity. I mean, it's not that that's a bad thing.
It's to lose weight.
I do really think that that's a very good thing. I mean, the word vanity gets a lot of negative, like, well, it's just vain, it's vanity. But it is. It's about how you look, how you appear, how your pants feel, how your shirts feel, like how everything fits, like your appearance and everything. Because social appearance is so important, especially. There's been studies about it, like people who are more in shape or healthier get more promotions or get more opportunities for dates or gets whatever. Yeah, so when they're looking at it right there, is the scale the best way that people should be looking to measure their success in this? So I knew this was going to be like you were going because I know how you feel about it. But
he knows I hate the scale. I hate it.
I love it personally.
I know.
I love looking at it and it judging me.
So I will be very honest. In the past 5 years, the only time I stepped on a scale was when I was pregnant because I was forced to. The doctor weighs you, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's because they need to measure
Make sure you're not losing weight. Make
or
sure
gaining weight too quickly so that the baby's not harmed, all the things, right? Prior to that, I never stepped on a scale. The way I measured whether or not I was actively losing weight, gaining weight, was how my clothes fit and how I looked in them.
Okay.
And that's how I could tell. And it's a really good indicator, honestly.
But why do you hate the scale, I guess? Why is that always why is that not always the best indicator?
Because sometimes the scale will either not move or move up, and it's not because you've actually gained weight. It's
Well,
just,
I mean, it is.
well,
Like, literally, like, if the scale moves up, you are gaining weight, but it's what kind of weight, right?
well, true. So you may be just holding on to water weight, which is very, very common in women,
Yeah.
especially in and around our cycle. We hold on to a lot of water. So that scale fluctuates. On top of it, the scale fluctuates daily anyway.
Yeah.
Which drives me crazy because most of us that are fixated on that number will step onto the scale and say, today I weighed 155, and tomorrow I step on that scale and I weigh 156, and I now go into panic mode and starve myself because I gained a pound overnight, which is physically impossible.
Yeah.
But we just get so hyped and so focused on that. It's like, oh my God, I gained a pound like overnight. I need to. So we starve ourselves, and then the next day,
It creates a terrible mindset. It creates a very toxic or bad mindset.
yeah. So if you're somebody like you that can get on the scale and you know what it says is not going to make or break your day unless it like continues to grow up, right?
Yeah, it's like
if
the
it's a
trend
steady,
over time.
Yeah, if it's
like
a
I used to
steady
write it down on the
climb,
mirror every day and trend one way or another.
If it's a steady climb, like then you know that you need to alter something, right? But if it alters in by a couple of pounds every couple of days, but it tends to go back down into that where we know you're probably hovering at 180, right? Some days it'll say 182, some days it'll say 178, but you're probably maintaining 180.
I wish I could maintain it. Just
But if you're somebody that as soon as that scale moves up, that you go into full-blown panic, like that scale is no longer serving you a purpose. It's only creating anxiety.
Yeah.
It's the same when people are like, I'm not measuring my food or tracking my food because it makes me anxious, and then I know that I can't have this or I can't have that, or like, right? So there's ways around that, and there's ways to set yourself up to be successful, but it's knowing how you are going to react to those
So the
things.
scale is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just more about how it affects your mindset within it.
Correct.
So it's if you have a very healthy mindset around the scale is a perfectly fine way to track yourself.
Yeah.
But
It's a great tool.
one thing I feel like people should know is muscle weighs more than fat.
Well, it doesn't weigh more than fat. They weigh the same. So if you have a pound of muscle and a pound of fat.
I never. Well, but wait. If what's gonna fall faster, or what's heavier, a pound of feathers or a pound of rocks?
But this is where,
I get it.
This is where the difference is, right? If this is a pound of fat, where I don't know how to make it. Okay, this is a pound of fat, and this is a pound of muscle, right? So this is smaller, so that scale may not go down, but your pant sizes have gone down 2 sizes.
Yeah.
Right?
And you
So
look better because the muscle is going to look better. It's going to contour your body
so
more.
You're making progress. That scale's just not moving because you haven't actually lost weight. All you've done is lost fat but gained muscle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
it doesn't
the
necessarily
scale
weigh
isn't
more.
always the best
It's just
indicator
a
of your
smaller
progress because the scale could be the same, but your body and your physique could be better.
Yes.
In regards to that. So
Yes.
it's not always the best indicator, especially if you start working out. You start going to jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, you go to CrossFit, you go lift
You'll
weights or
notice
whatever.
an energy difference.
Yeah.
You'll have more energy for before, during, and after your workouts. Like you'll just
move better.
You'll feel better all around. Like there's a lot of things that can help you know if you're on the right track. And it doesn't have to solely be the scale. The reason the scale is there is because we as a society, have to have health markers, right, to be able to know whether or not you're healthy or I'm healthy. And unfortunately, one of the easiest health markers out there is the scale, right, which is why we created the BMI. It was an easy overall general consensus that we could say
it's a metric to be able to define everything.
Yes, because how else do you do that without running like mounds of blood work panels and right, like it's not
an easy
feasible.
way to generalize a health metric.
Yeah,
it's an easy
there's
way.
other health metrics out there, right, which is exactly why people go and get blood work done, so that you can have all of that read and be told whether or not you're in a healthy range. But the scale is the easiest health marker.
Okay. Well, I think we can kind of wrap it up with that. You think?
We kind of got circled into talking a lot about it. But yeah, fads are awesome, but they're going to fail you.
Yeah, if that's what you stick to. If they're not sustainable.
Take your pick. Pick pieces from it. Do your research. Learn what works for you, what fits for you, and take those things and just...
find what's sustainable.
Yeah, find ways that you can continue being healthy a year from now. Like, I had just listened to a really great podcast, sorry, and then we'll wrap it up. And she was talking about when you are thinking about changing the way you eat or going into that next diet or that next fad or whatever, ask yourself, can or will I still be eating this way in 1 year? And if the answer is no, then that's not something that you should start.
Yeah, waste your time with.
Because it's not going to be sustainable. So pick something that you know that in a year you're still going to be eating that way.
Yeah, and you can still maintain it, you can still sustain it. So those are great tactics to end the chat with today.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one, and hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.